down. If you got it wrong, make sure you write the question down. When sociologists group people into categories based on their age, gender, educational level, and income, they're trying to determine, the answer is option B, social location. There was nothing too difficult about that. That is a definition right from the book. No interpretation, nothing different. What is social location? Social location is when sociologists group people into categories according to age, gender, etc. Nothing special about that. So the answer to number 1 is B, social location. Number 2, the first person to propose that the scientific method could be applied to the study of social life was D, Auguste Comte. Now, I have a suggestion for you. If you're just going to write down the right, option, that's not enough. You understand that, right? Okay. So Auguste Comte was the first person to propose scientific method could be applied to the study of social life. Number 3, the notion that only the fittest members of society deserve to survive, and that social programs to help the poor will ultimately weaken the social order is a doctrine known as A, social Darwinism. That's what social Darwinism is. The question is the notion, that is the idea, that the fittest members of society deserve to survive, and that the social programs to help the poor will ultimately weaken the social order is a doctrine known as social Darwinism, and the answer is A. That's what social Darwinism is. Number 4, the term survival of the fittest, which is a principal part of the concept of social Darwinism, was coined by option D, Herbert Spencer. I want to bring your attention to something. Some of you do not know how to take a multiple choice test. You have to know. If you're in college, you have to know how to take a multiple choice test. So here is something I'm pointing out to you. Many times when you take a multiple choice test, the answer to one question will be in another question. So if you look at number 3 says the notion that only the fittest members of society deserve to survive, and that social programs to help the poor will ultimately weaken the social order is, that gives you the definition of social Darwinism. Right there, gives you the definition. The next question, the term survival of the fittest, which is the principal part of the concept of social Darwinism. That's the answer. So if you didn't get number 3, the answer was in number 4. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. Look for that, not only in these questions, but whenever you take any multiple choice test for any professor, anywhere, later, now, 4-year college, graduate school, you look for that because that's a technique that's used. So the answer to number 4 is option D, Herbert Spencer. Number 5, Karl Marx suggested that the force that drives human history and is at the core of human society is option A, class conflict. Class conflict. Number 6, the social thinker of the 19th century who predicted that there would be 6 is D. Number 7, the titles Karl Marx used to describe the two classes in society were the option B, bourgeoisie, and the proletariat. Bourgeoisie and proletariat. Number 8, the French sociologist Émile Durkheim is most identified with which of the following areas of study? A, social integration. Now look, even if you didn't know it completely, you know it wasn't B because that was in one of the previous questions. B would have been class conflict. You know it's not C, that would have been social Darwinism because that was in a previous question. So you had a choice. Now you're left with 2. It could have been A, it could have been D. But if you pay attention to the structure of the questions, some of the answers will be right there. So the answer to number 8 is A, social integration. Remember social integration with Émile Durkheim. Durkheim, social integration. Number 9, the first African American to earn a doctorate from Harvard University, who spent his lifetime studying race relations in America and was one of the founders of the NAACP, was option A, W.E.B. Du Bois. Number 10, the sociologist who developed the concept of the power elite was option A, C. Wright Mills. The power elite. Power elite was a book he wrote. C. Wright Mills wrote The Power Elite. Number 11, functionalists refer to how parts of a society fit together to form a whole as D, a structure.
I believe that this one.
What happened?
I believe that this one.
Oh, you didn't understand why?
Why?
Why it's structure? Well, look, option A was a symbol. You know that's wrong. That belongs to George Herbert Mead. That doesn't belong there at all. Option B is a synthesis. We didn't talk about that at all. That was not there. Option C is an integration.
Yeah. It's nothing.
It's not an integration. No, no. It's a structure. Functionalists are talking about a structure. A structure. They're always talking about the whole system, how the whole system, the whole piece, the whole puzzle fits together. Number 12, Mark views society as a system of interrelated parts. Interrelated means that the parts depend on each other. They all depend on each other in order to work. While John views society as composed of groups competing for scarce resources. Mark would be considered a D, functionalist, and John would be seen as a D, conflict theorist. Do you understand that question?
Yeah.
The ones that got it wrong, do you understand it? I need to hear a yes or a no. 12. Are you listening to the answers? Do you understand why you got it wrong if you got it wrong?
No.
You know, you should say something. If you don't say something.
I was going to say number 11. That's why.
Number 12. Number 12. We're doing number 12. Mark views society as a system of interrelated parts. That's his viewpoint. He thinks that society, which is the structure, is made of parts that are all dependent on And John views society as composed of groups competing